I'm not opposed to seeing people haul things. I'm not opposed to seeing people shopping, but let's be honest about what it is. Booktok has always kind of been Booktube in short form. Hi everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WOC Reader, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. So I'm taking a quick break from staring at my screen, trying to jot down words, because I've been seeing this discussion like a lot for the past day about Booktok consumerism, and some woman wrote an article about Booktok comparing it to fast fashion, which I just kind of found a little bit funny. Because, I mean, so many of us do shop fast fashion, and I know I do. I've definitely bought from sites like Shein, but you kind of know what the quality stuff is and what the not quality stuff is, and you shop accordingly. And fast fashion is not something that I ever see going away. And while I feel like there's definitely been a decline of some sort with some of the types of book we're seeing with Booktok, it's also very cyclical, because a lot of what is being pushed in certain spaces is the types of books we were seeing like 10 plus years ago. And I don't really see people talking, well, I do see people talking about that, but they're not acknowledging it as much when it comes to that. So, for example, with Fourth Wing, a lot of people love it because it brings that nostalgic feeling of reading a YA fantasy from the early 2010s, but sexy with smut on page, which is also very weird marketing to me and a very weird way to describe it, and I find it so funny because the same people who are saying free Palestine and who are talking about how we need to pay attention to genocide in all these different countries around the world are also the same people who like rushed to pick up Ironflame, which is by an author who basically kind of said she didn't care about what was going on in Palestine and then had to backtrack, but also claims to be that in her books about war, she confronts war. And then people are saying, no, that's the opposite. That's not what happened in these books at all. When people could pick up books by BIPOC authors who actually do confront war, but they won't. Those aren't the books that get the hype. It's the books that are like a fantasy version of war. And I find it funny, people keep screaming in videos lately. They're like, you guys are reading sci-fi and fantasy, and there are oppressive governments in it, and it's like you're not learning anything. For one, a lot of people do not go into fiction expecting to learn. Like, in their mind, even if what they're reading is inherently political, they are reading to be entertained. They are not actually seeing those people as representative of real people and real human emotions, which is why people also need to read about the real world, read some nonfiction. Even if nonfiction books are not your jam, read some articles, watch some documentaries, consume some other information. But there are a lot of people in the book community that are just adamantly against consuming like that real information. People want their perfect aesthetic of books. They don't want to have to confront what is going on outside of their little bubble. And at this point, I'm like, you can't force them to. They're not going to care. They inherently don't care about other people. They don't even care about other people within their own neighborhood. Look at the way some of them vote against their own interests. And I saw like a lot of people talking about how all these books are getting special editions now. And we do see like the fancy special editions, which was really prompted by Fourth Wing, where all these publishers have like these fantasy romance books where they have the pretty stenciled edges and they have like the stuff printed on the cover, and it's like a special first run edition that costs like so much more than the regular price. Yet who is actually getting those special editions? Because when you look, it's mainly white authors, and they're even willing to give white debuts these types of covers, like Old Girl Who Wrote Assistant to the Villain. But who BIPOC is getting those books? The only ones that I can think of are proven bestsellers. Rachel Halsell Hall, which, yes, it's her first fantasy book, but she's written so many mystery books, and in the past few years her books have gotten a lot of acclaim, especially the ones she did recently with Amazon's publishing company. And Tomi Adeyemi, who is just like a massive force because of the way she was pushed like no other Black author we've ever seen before, and whose books were on the bestseller list for a few years. So they're getting the fancy edition, but no BIPOC debut is getting a fancy edition. They have to prove themselves. Like, they already have to have a massive following on TikTok, which is what a lot of publishers are using to gauge how a book is going to sell. Like, that Assistant to the Villain lady, nobody knew if she could write, and from what I've seen of the early reviews, she cannot write. But it's okay, she can't write, because I really loved her skits, so 5 stars. And even the people who talk about how unfair it is still rush to pre-order those types of books. Like, if you are pre-ordering every hype white book, or you are rushing to buy that book because everybody's talking about it on TikTok, you are rearranging your TBR to read that specific book, but you're not doing the same for that new release by a BIPOC author, you are also a part of the problem. And like, I get it. We can't read everything. And we're not going to be able to buy everything. I don't buy everything. And I try to make it very transparent that I don't buy everything. I could do a better job like in my wrap-ups, because some months my entire wrap-up is books that I read from the publisher. And I usually mention it in my written reviews, and I mention it on Bookstagram. It's just that I don't always remember when I'm sitting down to do a video to mention it after every single book. So that's something that I am trying to work on getting better at. But I do try to be transparent about it, because that also fucks up people's perception and ties right back into the consumerism, because sometimes you think people are buying all these books and that's influencing you to run out and buy all these books to keep up, but that person is not actually buying all these books. And then some people are buying all these books and make it look like they have money to spend on all these books, but they're paying with credit card, they're spending their rent money, mom and dad are supplementing their income while they spend all the money on books to make them happy. And I know in 2020 and to an extent 2021, whenever the subject of consumerism was brought up, people were like, let people enjoy things and you're just doing this and da 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 da. Okay. And I get it, you should be able to enjoy things, but you don't have to buy 50 books to enjoy books. And no, the library is not the overall solution, but some people do have pretty good library systems near them, and they just never use them because they would rather buy a bunch of books that they're not going to read to have a pretty shelf. And also, there's something to be said about buying a lot of physical books when you struggle to read physical books, and then you're going to buy the ebook or buy the audiobook or borrow the audiobook from the library and consume it that way instead. Because I'm just like, if you're never going to open the physical book ever, why did you have to rush out and buy it? But that's just like another thing that people don't really want to address, like, because of that feeling of FOMO. Well, like, it has a pretty cover, so I should be able to have it. And in those cases, sometimes the library is good for that, for when you want to hold on to that pretty cover and take your little pretty picture for the gram, or you want to take a little video holding it up. You can use your local library, and if you have a decent one, to do that instead of running out and buying. And honestly, your local library pays more per book than you do, so it's still benefiting the author. And if they have to get multiple copies of the book because a lot of people are demanding it, that's even better. But I'm like just watching this consumerism conversation for the umpteenth time, and I'm just like, we've been here before, and we're gonna be here again in a month or so, and nothing is going to change, because even some of the people who preach about it are a part of the problem. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. That's just some thoughts I had on my mind as I see people going back and forth with the conversation. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. And if you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.